Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to shed light on 118 years of the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square. Celebrating this museum is something giving us a sense of pride, knowing well that we started very early, knowing well also that museums is such a source of pride, showing our civilization to the whole world. And to shed more light on the Egyptian Museum and to shed light on more about what's going to happen when we do have our gym or the Grand Egyptian Museum, it is going to say that we are going to forget all about this historic building in Tahrir Square. It's a capital no. But let's have with us via phone our historian and tourism expert, Mr. Ihab Kamel. Hello, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Before going into more details, I'd like you, if you permit me, to ask you to elaborate on the history of this historic building and the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square.
Well, we have to understand that this museum is not the first museum or not the first building to host the ancient Egyptian pieces of antiquities. The idea of having a museum to host the ancient Egyptian antiquities had started prior to this building. And the first museum was located in a small villa in near the Giza Plateau. Then it was moved to the area of Bolak. And the idea, it came from one of the great Egyptologists who had worked in Egypt, Mr. Auguste Mariette. Of course, this indicates that the rulers of that period, starting from the time of Muhammad Ali Pasha, they had given a great deal of care to the Egyptian antiquities, and they understood their value very well. That's why they were so keen later on to have a museum and to employ someone like Auguste Mariette. Of course, the size of the building was related to the archaeological discoveries. The more we discovered, the more we realized that the building in Bolak was becoming too small to host all these pieces. So they decided, or Mr. Mariette decided, that we should have a proper grand museum. And we have to understand that this museum was considered to be a huge museum in relative to that period. And that is why, to honor this man, we had made him a cenotaph in the garden of the museum in Tahrir Square.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a masterpiece of architecture as well.
Yes.
Made of the Renaissance period style, and every piece in this building, it's a piece of art, really. Beautiful architecture. It was a wonderful display in those days. However, nowadays, the field of musology became different. The time is different. That is why it was time that we moved to the gym or
the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Grand Egyptian Museum, because there are more pieces to be displayed over there.
But this, sir, does not mean that the museum in Tahrir Square is going to lose its glory, or it's going to be closed or something. It will be there and it will continue to attract visitors. Would you please correct me if I'm wrong?
Of course, the museum itself, it's a piece of our modern history. It's a witness on our modern Renaissance in the 19th century and in the early 20th century. It's not just a museum, it is a witness on how Egypt was in those days. You have to understand that our modern history is not less important than our ancient history, because when you compare between Egypt and all the countries in the African continent or in the Middle East, you will find that Egypt was so far ahead, a country that thinks of preserving its own heritage, a country that thinks of building a museum like any other country in Europe. I think this will attract lots of people as well who want to know about the modern Egyptian history and how the Egyptian Renaissance, modern Renaissance, had started.
Sir, only few days separated the celebration of 118 years of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo from the inauguration of other museums across Egypt, in Kafr el-Sheikh, for example, and for the royal vehicles in Sharm el-Sheikh. Sir, how do you see now having museums scattered all over Egypt? It's not centralized in certain places or in certain cities like the capital here in Cairo or in Alexandria, for example. How do you see this moves or this strategic plan by the state?
Well, this is of course, if you want to know about a country, you will have to know about its culture. Where does this country stand from culture?
Yeah.
This shows that there is a very big care about about the Egyptian culture, about spreading culture in all the provinces of Egypt, because this is how you build a strong nation that is well educated, well cultured, and actually I believe that this is a magnificent step that should have been taken a long time ago, but obviously that the government now, as it gives a great deal of care on to the day-to-day issues, they also are having a great deal of care about culture, because culture is very important for the Egyptian people, so that you would have well-educated, well-cultured generations who understand their history. And I believe that this is
understand their history and feeling proud of their history too. Sir, since you're here and you are a tourism expert, you're always an added value to our programs, we would see the opportunity to ask you about how important, or how do you see the choice of Egypt as the second best diving destination worldwide? Because this was on top of the touristic news, and I think this was another source of pride, knowing well that we have diversity of tourism destinations, and it's going, inshallah, to attract more and more to visit our country and to enjoy this favorite sport, diving. How do you see this, sir?
Well, as a matter of fact, I was very pleased to see this on the media, on the news.
Yeah.
However, this is not new. In 1984, there was a very famous American marine biologist. Her name was Eugene Clark. Actually, she was the first one to classify Egypt as the second best destination for diving, especially when she started diving in Ras Mohammed. She said that there was nothing that would compare to Ras Mohammed, except the Great Coral Reef Barrier in Australia.
Australia.
Yes. So this is not new, but not many people knew about this kind of information until it was released in this press report. And I believe that this press report was delayed for quite a long time. I believe it should have been published way much earlier than this.
Yeah. Then it's our fault. We hope that we are now correcting this fault, sir. And Egypt is going to remain the best tourism destination, whether, by the way, for Egyptians, I mean local tourism, or of course attracting people from all over the world to come and to visit us and to enjoy variety of tourism sectors, whether it's cultural, it's entertainment, it's sports, whatever. Well, we were very much delighted to have with us via phone Mr. Ihab Kamel, our historian and tourism expert. Thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day. And by this, we come to the end of this episode of our breakfast show. You were in the company of my dear colleague Kamel Mukhtar and myself, Nermeen Abdurrahman. Tomorrow is another day with another crew, but stay tuned on Nile TV International, and for more details, please log on to www.nileinternational.net. So goodbye for now.